This is Steve Allen. How are you, Steve?
Hello, Eileen. Nice to see you.
It's a pleasure. Good to meet you. I knew I'd lose this mic.
There are many pleasures, but thank you very much. That's a pretty dress.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, it's incredible to have you sitting here at the piano. We brought some props, you know, so you feel comfortable,
yes.
all right?
Whistles and bells.
Whistles and bells and orange juice. Would you like some?
How nice. Yes, I
Okay.
would appreciate it.
I think that we all owe you a big thank you.
Well, let's have it then.
Well, if it weren't for you...
Thank you, gang. You're welcome.
If it weren't for you trailblazing early TV and hanging in there through thick and thin, we wouldn't be here today.
I'm one of the great blazers and hangers. That is no, but I appreciate your
Cheers,
kind
and thank
thought.
you for that. When you think back to the early days,
Check, please. I'm sorry. Think back to the early days, yes.
what do you remember?
Not a hell of a lot, to tell you the truth. I'm sorry, shouldn't say words like that. If you children were watching, disregard my mouth and my beard. I remember, you know, the high points. I forget the low points.
Do you remember it being tough in those days because things were trial and error?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, I mean, technically, and...
Oh, yes, there were great difficulties, but a difficulty, a modest difficulty, quite seriously, is a big help if you're doing comedy. Now, if you're on a newscast and something goes wrong with the camera, that's really embarrassing. Or if you're in a drama. As you know, in the early days of television, there were some true horror stories. There was a show once, I think it was Wendell Corey, I think Jane was on it, some serious drama. And Wendell was shot, and he fell down, and he died, and they ran in and poured ketchup on him, and he died some more. And then somebody touched his foot, and he got up and walked off, and he was on camera.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Live drama must have been really tough.
But for my kind of show, it was usually a plus if something went wrong.
Yeah, well, also the way you carried it. I mean, Gene Rayburn last night was interviewed on another show that I was watching, and he said that you took chances, and for that reason, he also feels grateful to you.
Well, that's nice. Well, I had gone to Catholic schools, and you have to take a lot of chances because they bingo off a lot of stuff. I used to buy 3 and 4 chances a week, and I got into that.
Was a lot of that ad-lib, Stephen? Was that what made it so great?
Yes. I forget what I broke up at, but then Louis was ad-libbing with the water and the cigar and saying, shut up and stuff. We used to ad-lib a lot. There were scripts and well-written scripts, but we would go far afield to come a cropper.
How about television today? You have to listen to every word you say, I've just decided. How about the difference in comedy today? I mean, you say in one of your pieces that you've written that today it's a lot of singers horsing around rather than true comedians.
Well, that trend, following on the golden age of comedy, as it's been called, the 1950s, started in the 1960s, the singers horsing around trend. They would start a comedy series, and instead of hiring Sid Caesar or Jackie Gleason, they would hire, you know, Glenn Campbell or some other funny person like that. Of course, I could be right, but I deplore that. I like singing, and I have nothing against either Glenn Campbell or his Hairspray. But I would prefer to see, you know, Robin Williams doing comedy.
Well, in your new book, which we have to let everyone know, because I'll tell you, one of the greatest things about Funny People is that within it, not only do you explore your feelings for all these comics, but you also, some of their routines are there. I mean, last night I was hysterical reading some of them.
Yeah.
Some of the people are Woody Allen, Mel Brooks, Lenny Bruce, George Burns, Sid Caesar. One woman, Lily Tomlin.
Yes.
Why only one woman, Steve?
Well, the list of women who do comedy is a good deal shorter than the list of men, as you know, and there weren't a great many women I might have written about. However, the book was twice as long, so they cut it right in half. And in the second volume, I'll probably get around to Lucille Ball, or I do plan, in fact, to write a chapter on Martha Ray, one of the great comedians of our century. I mean, men or women, one of the greats. And she hasn't been given the attention she deserves.
Did you leave anybody out of this list?
I left out probably 94% of the funny people in the world, because there are about 400 of them, and I only had space to do about 18 essays in the book.
And you say you laugh at 98% of all comedians.
Some high percentage, yeah. I'm very easily amused. I think this thing here is ridiculous, whatever. But no, seriously, I'm very easily entertained, as I say. I laugh readily, sometimes too readily, as you saw a moment ago on that old clip. Most comedians, oddly enough, are not that amused by their peers. I don't know why.
Do you remember during the early Tonight Show seeing those hands play on the piano?
Yes, you just reminded me of something by your question. It was out of that sight of my own hands on a screen in the old days, every night, that something that became quite influential in television emerged. It was called Crazy Shots. Dwight Hemian was our camera director in the old days, still probably the greatest of them all. And I was in the middle of a piano solo one night, a serious one. I noticed that he was taking the same shots night after night. Great shots, but always the same. So I stopped and I said, Dwight, I'm going to start this number again because we've been on the air now for like 8 months and they've seen the same shots. I don't care what you do shoot now, but shoot anything different. So he said, okay, over the talkback, and I started again, and it was hysterical. First picture he took was of the back of my neck. The next was of my left foot tapping. Got a picture of my belt buckle, my left elbow, and that started an ongoing comedy thing. And then finally we began to add props and bells and whistles and rancid orange juice and so forth. And from time to time, I would look at the camera and go, little things like that.
Well, for all your great playing, Steve Allen, I wonder if people realize that you only had 3 years of piano lessons.
Yes, 1911, 1936, and 2001. My third one is coming up soon.
No, you play by ear.
Yes, I do.
And out of that have come so many great compositions. You know the one I really do remember? As a little kid, hearing Steve and Edie sing, "This could be the start of something big."
Yes, I wrote that for all the little kids who would one day grow up. You want to hear a little bit of it?
I'd love it. It's a great song. You say that came to you in your sleep?
Yes, I dreamed that, thank goodness. I had been assigned to write a musical for NBC. It was a show called The Bachelor, and I suppose my brain was working away, you know, awake or asleep. And one night I dreamed that, and thank goodness I woke up right after that, wrote down a few lines of it, the lyric, and that's that.
So what you're saying is it's all in there. It's just a matter of letting it come out, huh?
Yeah, the creative process is quite mysterious. The one part of your body, as we know, that never sleeps is the brain. Sometimes the small of the back may stay awake a little bit just to look around the room. But the brain is always working, and a lot of your problems are worked out during sleep.
Isn't that incredible? Well, let's take a phone call. I know our viewers are probably dying to talk to you. Good morning. You're on Good Day, and you go right ahead and ask Steve Allen any question you'd like.
Good morning, Eileen and Steve. Steve, I think you're the craziest I've ever seen. I remember seeing you on TV so many years ago on a morning show, I think, and you had a rope to hold up your pants.
Actually, it was to hold up my socks, but it went through my pants. I don't remember that, but I wouldn't put it past me.
Well, I just wanted to call and say, I wondered if you're appearing anywhere or if there was a place that you're going to be at, maybe locally, that we could see you again.
I could come over to your house. What time is it now? No, I'm going to be doing this sort of thing all day. I am on what we call, well, listen, if I told you what I'm on, you wouldn't believe it. But I'm also on a book.
I'm part of it, I'll tell you.
I'm on a book tour.
A book tour?
Yes.
And the book is Funny People, which we mentioned a moment ago, and it's terrific.
And it's a funny tour, too.
Okay, I'm sure there's a lot of other people that want to call in and just remind you that we really appreciate your sense of humor and we need more of it, Steve. And have a happy holiday.
You're very sweet. I can use a little more of it myself. Thank you so much.
You know, what she mentioned about the rope holding up your pants, I mean, they made you a tea bag and dunked you in a vat of water.
Yes.
You were Jell-O once.
Jumped into Jell-O. Was one night, they, by which I mean my staff, ripped my clothes off and ran out on stage, about 12 of them, and smeared my body with dog food. And then I said, what's happening? And then they suddenly went, and about 28 dogs came out and ate me alive.
Did they like you, Steve?
I've never known. No, I used to know in the old days when something like that was afoot, although I never knew what it was, because they would run into the dressing room before the show and say, wear one of your Hong Kong suits. I had shortly theretofore been to Hong Kong and bought a bunch of cheap suits that looked great. So they knew I was going to, I was going to get hit with Jell-O or mud or pie or something that night.
Well, I want to take another call, but I want to ask you, do you remember a man that you worked with who used to, Steve, look at me.
Oh, sorry. Do that?
Does that jog your memory at all?
Dayton Allen?
Good morning, you're on Good Day.
Hi there, Steve.
Hey, Dayton, how are you?
Hi, do you remember this boy? 47 years ago, I was your third grade substitute teacher for a whole day.
Why not?
Why not?
Right.
It was in nature studies. How well I remember you, George. I'll never forget how we had a lot of fun. And how have you been?
Fine, Dayton. Where are you calling from?
My mouth. It's the easiest way. My armpit doesn't work that well anymore. But I just missed you down here at a couple of stores down where I live.
Ah.
Yeah, but I'll catch you the next time.
I can get caught. Where's your place?
Right near here. I'm in White Plains, but they have a long-distance phone now. The wire's all the way out of their body.
Are you still running your antique store?
No, I'm a big real estate raccoon now, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm out of real estate now again. Business is very quiet down here, but it doesn't bother me because I'm used to bad times.
Are you still in gold?
Yes. Oh, much better. Yes, thank you.
What do you think of the, is it pronounced Laffer curve or Lafer curve?
You stepped in what? No, I think that we're going to see a big rise in gold. I think we're going to see it about $2,000 in about an hour and a half. You know, nothing works quickly.
Your mind does still. Listen, I'm sorry that Groucho sketch didn't work out.
Yes, many people have called me and said, how come you weren't on that bit they never put on?
Well, the reason, just to briefly explain what we're talking about to the folks, I wrote a sketch taking off my own Meeting of Minds program for PBS, in which I was pretending to introduce Karl Marx, and Groucho ran out.
Right.
And it was Dayton who does the world's greatest Groucho. Then I had another fella who also did good Groucho, and unfortunately the third guy that did Groucho was...
He did Mickey Rooney.
Yeah, or macaroni, something.
Macaroni,
anyway, it didn't
yeah.
work, and we couldn't use the sketch because of that. But you, up to that point, you were hysterical.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm still screaming. And it was, when I finally got to tell people about it, it was too late anyway, so it didn't make any... For starting time, it was a shock to me, one of the strangest things I've ever heard.
Well, I
Yes,
certainly hope
right.
so, yes.
But, no, it was great because Bray Tupper up on the show there, I asked, who was kind enough to ask me to do this thing today for nothing.
Well, yeah. You know, Dayton, Bert's our producer. He's almost as crazy as you and Steve.
Yeah, poor kid, he has no taste either. No, but I thought it was well worth it at the price.
Dayton, it's great to hear from you,
Yeah,
seriously.
nice, Steve. And one day, you know, when you get working again, give me a call.
Thank you,
In the
Dayton.
back of the hearse.
All right.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, so good. Thanks
Okay.
to Jane. Is Jane with you?
None of your business.
Yeah, well, there was not a hearse either. She didn't know it. Okay.
Bye, Dayton.
Thank you, Dayton.
Thank you. Are you surprised?
I was very pleasantly surprised, yeah, but not by his wit. He's always been one of the funniest men in the world.
Oh, isn't that...
Unfortunately, he's not in the world. Dizzy fingers.
Steve Allen, a man who doesn't read music. Can you believe that at home? It's got to astound everyone. Let's take a call, all right? Good morning.
right.
You're on Good Day.
Hello, good morning, Steve.
Good day, you're on. Good morning. How are you?
Fine.
Sorry, sir, your time is up. Yes.
The reason I'm calling, I'm confused. I'm looking at the TV and listening to you talk at the same time. I have to turn
Right.
you off and just talk to you. The question I have for you is, number one, I've been a fan of yours for probably at least 142 years anyhow.
All right.
And I wondered if since you come from the great era of live television, all the great moments that must have happened, which do happen in live TV, have you ever considered doing a full-length feature either for television or movies on the outtakes of those shows?
Well, Dick Clark does those. In fact, one of his bloopers shows, as they're called, was on just a week or so ago.
And it was with you laughing, one of the
Yeah.
bits.
For 23 years, they've been playing that thing where I laughed. It's the same way I laugh with Louis Nye. I laugh very easily, or readily.
Well, you make me laugh very easy, I'll tell you that. Listen, God bless you. You've been you're probably the greatest all-around talent that I've ever seen in my life.
My goodness.
So you keep it up. I'm certainly going to buy the book.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Nice
Many of
talking
us.
to you. Merry
Many
Christmas to you.
Same to you.
Thank
Many
you
of us
very much.
second that comment. I think that's true. You are. I guess eclectic's a bad word because you do so many things so very well.
Well, I'm eclectic when I'm, plugged into the wall socket, but other than that, not necessarily.
Steve, look at me.
Oh,
This.
sorry. Do that?
Does that jog your memory at all?
Dayton Allen?
Good morning. You're on Good Day.
Hi there, Steve.
Hey, Dayton, how are you?
Hi, do you remember this boy? 47 years ago, I was your third grade substitute teacher for a whole day.
Why not?
Why not? It
Right.
was in nature studies. How well I remember you, George. I'll never forget how we had a lot of fun. And how have you been?
Fine, Dayton. Where are you calling from?
My mouth. It's the easiest way. My armpit doesn't work that well anymore. But I just missed you down here at a couple of stores down where I live.
Ah,
Yeah, but I'll catch you the next time.
I can get caught. Where's your place?
Right near here. I'm in White Plains, but they have a long-distance phone now. The wire's all the way out of their body.
Are you still running your antique store?
No, I'm a big real estate raccoon now, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm out of real estate now again. Business is very quiet down here, but it doesn't bother me because I'm used to bad times.
Are you still in gold?
Yes. Oh, much better. Yes, thank you.
What do you think of the, is it pronounced Laffer curve or Lafer curve?
You stepped in what? No, I think that we're going to see a big rise in gold. I think we're going to see it about $2,000 in about an hour and a half. You know, nothing works quickly.
Your mind does still. Listen, I'm sorry that Groucho sketch didn't work out.
Yes, many people have called me and said, how come you weren't on that bit they never put on?
Well, the reason, just to briefly explain what we're talking about to the folks, I wrote a sketch taking off my own Meeting of Minds program for PBS, in which I was pretending to introduce Karl Marx, and Groucho ran out.
Right.
And it was Dayton who does the world's greatest Groucho. Then I had another fella who also did good Groucho, and unfortunately the third guy that did Groucho was...
He did Mickey Rooney.
Yeah, macaroni, something.
Macaroni,
Anyway, it didn't
yeah.
work, and we couldn't use the sketch because of that. But you, up to that point, you were hysterical.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm still screaming. And it was, when I finally got to tell people about it, it was too late anyway, so it didn't make any... For certain, it was a shock to me, one of the strangest things I've ever heard.
Well, I
Yes,
certainly hope
great.
so, yes.
But, no, it was great because Bert Tupper up on the show there, I asked, who was kind enough to ask me to do this thing today for nothing.
Well, yeah. You know, Dayton, Bert's our producer. He's almost as crazy as you and Steve.
Yeah, poor kid, he has no taste either. No, but I thought it was well worth it at the price.
Dayton, it's great to hear from you,
Yeah,
seriously.
nice, Steve. And one day, you know, when you get working again, give me a call.
Thank you,
In the
Dayton.
back of the hearse.
All right.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, so good. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks to Jane. Is Jane with you?
None of your business.
Yeah, well, there was none of hers either. She didn't know it. Okay.
Bye, Dayton.
Thank you, Dayton.
Thank you. Are you surprised?
I was very pleasantly surprised, yeah, but not by his wit. He's always been one of the funniest men in the world.
Oh, isn't that...
Unfortunately, he's not in the world. Dizzy fingers.
Steve Allen, a man who doesn't read music. Can you believe that at home? It's got to astound everyone. Let's take a call, all right? Good morning.
right.
You're on Good Day.
Hello, good morning, Steve.
Good day, you're on. Good morning. How are you?
Fine.
Sorry, sir, your time is up. Yes.
The reason I'm calling, I'm confused. I'm looking at the TV and listening to you talk at the same time. I have to turn
Right.
you off and just talk to you. The question I have for you is, I've been a fan of yours for probably at least 142 years anyhow.
All right.
And I wondered if since you come from the great era of live television, all the great moments that must have happened, which do happen in live TV, have you ever considered doing a full-length feature either for television or movies on the outtakes of those shows?
Well, Dick Clark does those. In fact, one of his bloopers shows, as they're called, was on just a week or so ago.
And it was with you laughing, one of the
Yeah.
bits.
For 23 years, they've been playing that thing where I laughed. The same way I laugh with Louis Nye. I laugh very easily, or readily.
Well, you make me laugh very easy, I'll tell you that. Listen, God bless you. You've been you're probably the greatest all-around talent that I've ever seen in my life.
My goodness.
So you keep it up. I'm certainly going to buy the book.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Nice
Many of
talking
us.
to you. Merry
Many
Christmas to you.
Same to you.
Thank
Many
you
of us
very much.
second that comment. I think that's true. You are. I guess eclectic's a bad word because you do so many things so very well.
Well, I'm eclectic when I'm, plugged into the wall socket, but other than that, not necessarily.
Who influenced you the most, Steve?
Oh dear.
Well,
Alexander the Great, I think, had an awful lot to... No, I don't really know.
Your
My
mother?
mother. Yeah, my mother, I guess professionally, and no doubt personally to some extent. My mother, as I mentioned earlier, did comedy in vaudeville. I couldn't see any similarities between our professional style until I was about 40 and began to see films and tapes of myself, like, that I did when I was 26. And then I began to notice that my way of using my hands was sort of like my mother. My beard is very much like my mother's
but
beard.
did she teach you how to laugh?
No. Except by, just hanging around. The whole family laughed. They had to because they were all really strange. And there was a lot of tragedy in their lives. My mother had an incredibly difficult life. She was a slave in the circus when she was about 11 years old, literally. They didn't pay her. If you don't get paid and you work, you're a slave. But she was very witty, typical, in their case, lower middle class Irish, Duz Lonigan kind of wit. So I guess some of it rubbed off on me.
How about Jane Meadows? I read
Yeah, how
last
about her?
night that you say that if it weren't for Jane, all the faces of Steve Allen wouldn't have been allowed to appear.
Oh, what a lovely thought. I honestly don't remember saying it, but I could have because it's a nice thought. Yeah, she is, there are so many Janes that I guess she has brought out several me's. As I've said before, she is wasted upon the world as the wife of a comedian. She really should have been the wife of a president. She would have made the greatest first lady you ever heard about. She has true greatness to her. Everybody knows about her beauty and talent and intelligence, that's public knowledge. But what they don't know about is her maternal quality, her wisdom. She has a tremendous wisdom. She's a true woman with a capital W. Helps a lot of her friends, does a lot of great things that never get into the papers.
And still performs so beautifully in her own
Yeah,
right.
a magnificent actress.
Are you proud of your 4 children?
Yes, indeed, yes.
Did you take as much pride in being as a father in your life as being such a talented man?
Yeah, I feel the same way about children I do about dogs anyway. I just want to get down on my hands and knees and smile at everyone I see, and that includes my own four. I couldn't do that now because they're all grown up. The youngest is 23. It's kind of sad when you have to stop kissing them and carrying them on your back anyway, but they're all beautiful guys.
Isn't that great? Oh, thank you, Steve, for being with us today. Would you play us a little version? I know you can create at the drop of a hat. How about
Anybody
something
got a
about...
hat? I didn't bring my hat.
How about something about Good Day to kind of play us out?
Good day? Oh dear, let me see. There are lots of good days. In many ways, there's Doris Day and Dennis Day and Christmas Day and Easter Day and walking around and falling on your Easter Day. No, that doesn't make any sense. But the Good Day Show, let's keep on looking at the Good Day Show. We'll see you tomorrow, folks, at the same time. Good Day Show.
Steve Allen. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Eileen.
Funny People is Steve's new book. Don't miss it. Here's the hat.
At the drop of a hat.
Yes.
Check, please. Oh,
We'll be right back. If you're not in the Christmas spirit by now, maybe we'll help you. We'll be right back.